All right, welcome back after a break, and welcome Myra's sister. We'll just recap super briefly, but mainly just brainstorm on what we were talking about previously, of having a meeting that's focused on cooling the planet via SRM. And we can call it the SRM series. Why not? Really simple, the SRM series. Come up with a nice graphic for it, a nice image, right, of reflectivity, and get some anchor participants. In fact, my next message to Guy and Pauline and Ye can simply be, all right, I'm committed that we do this, and I just need to know who's in, who's interested, and who's not, so I can plan accordingly, right? But let's get some anchor, participants. I think that's really the first step. So before we broadcast it broadly, let's get some anchor participants, and and then, co-create it with them as much as with ourselves, right? Let's all co-create it with the anchor participants who are really, truly in. And then, but anyway, so up until then, what's the basic idea? The SRM series, where the objective is definitive resolution on, are we going to do planetary scale SRM? Yes or no? If yes, how much? And are we in agreement that SRM is the only way to actually cool the planet at this point? The only way to cool the planet in time. And
how urgent is it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. How urgent it is. And I mean, and how do we reach a sufficient degree of consensus on this so that we can move forward? You know what I mean? By a sufficient degree of consensus. Doesn't have to be total consensus, but how do we get to a point where we, basically have a super majority of humanity that says, yes, we get it, we got the memo, we understand from so many trusted leaders around the world that this has to happen. This is an absolute urgency. And, we get that there are differences of opinion on it, whether or not we should do it or how much we should do it. And there's differences of opinion on which specific methods of SRM we should deploy. There's all those differences, and that's how it should be, right? We want people to be thinking freely and having whatever opinions or conclusions they come to. And within that, how do we you know, ultimately achieve consensus that a plan is settled upon, that enough of a majority says yes to, that, you know what, it's simply a go. People may be protesting, people may be actively resisting, people may be trying to sabotage, right? It's, you know, it's could very likely be a tumultuous time. I think that's pretty predictable that it'll be tumultuous. And within that, we simply need we just need to be very thoughtful as to, you know, how are we going to get to consensus, regardless of what the consensus ends up being on, whether to do it or to not do it or to max out on it or only do it halfway or whatever the consensus happens to be on at that moment. That's what we commit to. The thing is, from here on out, just as it's been for the last couple of years, it's going to be such a bumpy and extreme ride with so many changes, so many radical changes. We're just in a time of change, of rapid and radical change, that, you know, whatever the consensus plan is, it will need to be refreshed pretty much continuously, right? Basically in real time, in conversation. People are going to be talking. So just imagine this network is alive, this network of millions of conversations, right? With, you know, tens of millions of participants and maybe hundreds of millions watching, right? For the simple reason that what could be more interesting than saving life on Earth? We're talking about your survival, whoever you are, the viewer. Yes, Myra, go for it.
Jamin, knowing that SRM, for now, I guess it looks like something almost impossible, I guess, because now worldwide we are having all these issues with the pandemic crisis, with all the protesting now gone worldwide also. We thought it only had started here in the United States and we thought that it would calm down, but now it's getting worse day by day, which has spread all the way to even Mexico. So it seems like as more time passes by, for me, it's a little frustrated because it seems like less people are putting attention into what really matters, which is her Mother Earth. And there's times when I even stop and think of the last words of George Floyd when he was dying and he was asking for his mom, and I sit and wonder if we are going to be doing all the same thing once we start getting all this abrupt, devastating climate change. If we're going to be asking for Mother Earth to have a little bit of compassion for us. We know that the change is coming. We know that possibly the ecology system is going to change entirely. We don't know how. We don't know what is the outcome. All we know is that there is a very abrupt changes. However, I am wondering, at the most least, what is expected this next couple of months in different parts of the world. For instance, countries that are not countries, but more states that are close to the ocean. I don't know, I guess like this whole scenario, like I know that even in Florida now they're not predicting, but I guess how do you say meteorologists? Meteorologists?
Meteorologists, yes.
Yeah, they're saying that that they are expecting a very active hurricane activity, and that people should be prepared for this. So that's within those states: Houston, Florida, and Carolinas, and all those states. However, what is expected in Central, South America, Mexico? Do we even know? I know Guy was saying that maybe we're going to have a lot of lack of crops this coming August because of the same scenario. It's we're going to be having high temperatures, and at the same time there's other places where we're going to experience a lot of rain, which is going to affect the soil and all the crops, all the agriculture. I don't know. I guess I'm just having this little withdrawal moment of which I don't ever feel like this, but I just guess I'm just feeling a little bit a little curious and not hopeless. I'm not gonna say that, because the term dying, it's not a term that even exists for me, because I don't believe that we die. I don't believe that death even exists, because we reborn always. We just leave our physical body and then we come back again. But just wondering, like, what is expected?
Yeah, really good points, Myra. You know, what occurs to me is that actually, even though it's definitely true, right now people are focused way more on the social and on conflicts and on race and, you know, so many different things. And what we really need is something that will unite us. And there's one thing that can unite all peoples all around the world, and that's Mother Earth. Hey, Emery, welcome back. We're recording. And in a few minutes, we've got more folks showing up. So I think we just keep jamming here while we can. So with so much conflict between social classes, between races, between nations, between religions, between political groups, you name it, anything that people can fight over, they'll fight over. And what we urgently need is something that will unite us. Mother Earth and planetary overheating will unite us all, can unite us all, and therefore should unite us all. And so as we build this community of experts, we can say, listen, the explicit intention here is to build towards consensus. So if you're not interested in consensus and you know, working towards something that we can actually implement, this is not for you. Right? Because what we don't need are a bunch of detractors or naysayers or doomers or whatever. And if that filters out Guy McPherson, it filters out Guy McPherson. I hope that he'll join, but you know, there will be a set of agreements to joining. Let's define it like that as well. So we'll have a set of agreements that basically says you commit to working in harmony, collaboration, cooperation, you know, all these positive, you know, attributes of the relationship and the collaboration, et cetera, that you commit to that. You commit to precisely that degree and level of harmony and cooperation, and that we're working towards a consensus on both what to communicate to the world and how to go about figuring out what is the optimal mix of solutions, yeah, that we need to deploy to cool the planet in time, right? That's basically what we're committing to, right? That this is, you know, this is a group focused on getting it done, right? Focused on getting it done, building consensus, and, perhaps first consensus, speaking of consensus, there will be concentric kind of rings of whether it's authority or skills or whatever. There will be, or just, hours into the conversation. Like for me, this group here is the very center of it. And then concentric rings outside of this are people who watch the recordings of the Solution Club and the Block Party, and people who join on occasion and dip their toe in and check it out, and, et cetera, et cetera. So, these concentric rings of, participation and degree of participation. What was I trying to say about that? It doesn't matter. We'll get back to it as we spiral around. But, we need to have some agreements in terms of governance. Very important, and so are we creating something here where there is this degree of hierarchy? And because let's face it, we're basically talking about what essentially amounts to certifications in terms of understanding and ability to communicate that understanding across myriad topics, right? There are areas of expertise. And, what happens when two experts disagree on something? That creates a bifurcation. That creates an opportunity for both sides of the fence to state their case, and for points of agreement to be identified and breaking points of disagreement to be identified. Making all that systematic, because what we're ultimately in search of here is the truth, and the truth including the truth of the solutions that we are in the process of developing and implementing. Those are part of the truth that these solutions exist and are vital for our survival. The truth of what these solutions are, and the truth about their implementation, including the truth about how to get them implemented politically, socially, culturally, sociologically, anthropologically, anthropology, how to get it done through the media, how to get it done through youth, how to get it done through our elders, how to get it done through families, through schools, through religion. What are all the vectors, right? All this needs to be figured out, because listen, any stone that's left unturned, there could potentially be a crack underneath it that can propagate through and bring this down. You see what I'm saying? And so I think we need to be very intensive and very exhaustive about being very complete and making sure that every facet of humanity is included, right? And represented and empowered, right? And that we make it very easy and straightforward for people to connect and invite others to meetings and participate in meetings and just really have this rich conversational domain, right? So we need to lay out the foundations for all this. And, these will be subjects to be delved into both in general session for the series, the SRM series, as well as in specialty breakout rooms and breakout sessions, most of which would be recorded and transcribed. Yes, Myra, or who was talking? Sorry. Okay, sorry, I thought somebody was talking. So, all these things could be worked out in meetings. And so, a big part of our job is mapping out the topics for the meetings so that we put order to all this and people know where to go and when to show up. And so I think, you know, by what we're essentially doing is proclaiming a planetary, you know, Congress, effectively, of, you know, of SRM, proponents, supporters, experts, specialists, you know, a community of specialists and a community of generalists and a community of students and a community of elders. I mean, just this community of communities all supporting SRM, all of whom have, you know, crossed that fundamental hurdle that says, you know what, we need this, we need to implement it now, subject to these constraints. And, you know, here's the basics as to who we are and what we're standing for as a community. Now, within the community, of course, we're going to have lots of disagreements and different ideas about exactly which SRM solutions we should have. But as a community as a whole, I believe that it's very important that we have, you know, built in an ability to reach consensus on, you know, good enough for now, safe enough to try, you know, to borrow those concepts from sociocracy. But whether it's sociocracy, holacracy, democracy, or anything else that ends in ocracy, whatever flavor of that, you know, we just need to figure that out. I mean, there's a whole bunch of basic foundational stuff that we need to figure out, which for me makes this so exciting, right? That we have this opportunity now to do this intense figuring out, right? Hey, Benjamin and Suzanne, welcome. We're recording the tail end of our meeting that's been intensively focused on SRM. And so I guess whenever you guys indicate that it's time to shift gears to VCI, I will pass you the moderator stick. Ray, how you doing there? Welcome. So is that fair, Benjamin and Suzanne? Just give me a thumbs up if you guys are in agreement that you'll let me know, just so I don't have to worry about limiting myself or passing the talking stick before you're ready for it. Hey, Kelly, how you doing?
Hi.
Great to see you.
Yeah, she just crawled right out of Lake Ontario. That was cool.
That was really cool. My goodness. All right, and Silas, how you doing there? All right, I'm gonna
I missed
stop.
what you said, Jamin. We were on
What?
our. It was still connecting.
Kamaya.
See, you missed what I said. Okay, yeah. In fact, I'm gonna relocate myself back indoors where I can get much stronger internet in case the problem is on my end. Emery, Myra, James, has it been scratchy for you guys at all of late, connection-wise, in terms
Yeah, a bit jumpy here and there. All right, breaking up a bit. All right.
of? Okay, but you got the gist of it. Okay.
Yeah, you're freezing every now and again, but a bit patchy, but we get the gist of it.
Okay, but the odd. Okay, I got you. Okay, all right. Well, I'm about to connect to Ethernet, so it'll be quite fast in about. Okay, all plugged in. Is that better? Hopefully. Anyway, all I was saying, Benjamin and Suzanne, is first of all, welcome everyone, and just let me know when you want to take the moderation stick and lead away. I'll just count on you to tell me, rather than me pass you the hot potato when you're not ready for it or whatever. And if we're ready to start now, go for it.
Well, so I think we kind of brought this up in the past. I don't know if we can moderate tonight. We haven't talked about anyone else doing it necessarily, but we're going to be leaving for some protests soon. So we'll be eating like we'll turn off our video and then we'll be leaving. So
Oh yeah. Well,
sorry about
no,
that.
no. First of all, you don't have to apologize. I've offered to moderate whenever you guys need, so I'm happy to do it. Silas and I know how to tag team quite well, so never need to apologize. I'm always happy to do it. I was just really giving you guys the respect more than anything else, and the option to do whatever y'all wanted to do. So I'm happy to moderate by default. All right. Well, awesome. Likewise, I can, oh, I was supposed to pause recording, so let me do that now.